Many seek the path to victory, but only one can stand glorious over all. From the Badlands come the orcs and goblins, a green tide of brutal creatures that must be stopped.
Hello and welcome to another Total War Warhammer guide. Today we are looking at the missile infantry of the Orc and Goblin army. I call them Orc and Goblins. In the game they're called Greenskins. Greenskin army, we'll go Greenskin. Now you think when initially looking, you go, wow, they've got quite a variety of missile infantry, and they have. They've got 4 very good units of missile infantry. Well, I say very good. I'm lying. I don't know why I said very good. Orc and Greenskin, oh God, I'm going to keep saying it. Greenskin missile infantry are pretty rubbish. Don't expect to actually hit anything, okay? I'm just letting you know now. So first off, we're going to start from the smallest to the biggest. So first off, we've got the Goblin Archers. They come in units of 90. As you can see, they're expendable, they're weak against any sort of armour, and they have a dreadful leadership of 40. At the merest hint of damage, they're going to run away. So, as you see, 25 armour, rubbish. Leadership, rubbish. Speed, okay. Speed's good because they're goblins, they can run around quick. Weapon stroke 24. I mean, they got 24 shots. Range is 110, and that's, I don't know what to say about these really. They're good for. I quite like these sort of these really cheap expendable units to use as decoys. A couple of units of these in the woods just on the flank, just to pepper the enemy. Maybe draw out a unit of cavalry or 2, because even if your guys die, you know, that's worth it. If you can take a unit of cavalry out of the game for a few, you know, for 10 minutes of a battle, then that's all they need to do. So next we're going to go on to the Night Goblin. They're very sort of similar, same unit size, similar sort of damage, even worse morale, which is quite impressive in itself. They're weak against armour, they've got poor leadership. They do have poison attacks, so they reduce the speed and damage that the enemy does when they hit them with those poison attacks. And they also have Vanguard deployment, so it allows them to start the battle within striking range of the enemy or somewhere unexpected. So when I was talking about hiding them in the woods, out of these 2 units, I'd use the Night Goblins all day. And you can also equip the Night Goblin Archers with units of Fanatics. Check out my other Night Goblin video for Fanatics, but basically the way they work, they're hidden within a unit, and then when enemy units get within a certain charge range of the unit, the Fanatics come out, and they're basically one little dude, and he's got a big ball and chain that's like twice the size of him, and he's swinging it around. He moves randomly once he sort of pops out of the unit, but if he does hit a unit, and that an enemy unit, and that is a big if, because it's very inaccurate, he does a massive amount of damage. So I think quite a fun way of using these would be a couple of units of Night Goblins with those Fanatics hidden away on a flank somewhere in the woods to begin with the game, and then they can nip out of the woods, maybe draw those couple of cavalry units to deal with them, and then those cavalry units get close, and you've got a chance of absolutely wrecking that cavalry unit. And even if the Fanatics just go off in the wrong direction, or kill your own troops, or do something like that, it's still a worthy trade, because those cavalry have been drawn out so far from the battlefield that they're going to take an age just to get back in the fight. So it's because they're so cheap, these Night Goblins, that they're definitely worth it. So over the 2 Goblin units, I'd go Night Goblins. I do just prefer Night Goblins as well. So next up, we've got the Orc Arrer boys. Now these are slightly unusual for missile infantry, because they can actually fight in close combat half decent. So as you can see, literally it just says decent melee combat. So despite being primarily a missile unit or spellcasting unit, this unit can hold its own. So I quite like this unit. It's a very interesting one, because you can have it at that as part of your main line of your army, and fire a few shots before the units get in, just to weaken, maybe pick off a few of each unit, just to whittle them down a little bit, reduce their morale, and then they can still fight. So they actually have more of a use. Sometimes when you're playing Total War, you've got a missile unit that's done a bit of damage, but now the 2 forces have combined, there's not much use for them. They kind of end up just sitting there, unless you want to sort of fire into the combat as a whole. So these guys can actually do a job. So they're a unit of 68 on my settings. Obviously, depending on your setup, you can actually have bigger or smaller units. I have large rather than epic, just so I can fit them all in the screen. All right. So they're not the fightiest of guys. They're still a very cheap unit. They got armor 30, leadership 55, weapon strength is 34. Their range is 135, so a little bit longer than the old goblins. They can probably just pull their arm back a bit further to fire a bit further. They got poor accuracy, so don't expect them to really do that much damage from range. But like I said, they do a little bit of damage from range, and they do a little bit of damage when the actual combat gets stuck in. Lastly, we have, if you watch my Savage Orc video, you'll know how much I love Savage Orc. My army, my tabletop army was built around Savage Orcs. So these are the Savage Orc Arrer boys. Now, I'm not a massive fan of these. They do sort of work in a sort of similar way to the Orc Arrer boys. If I'm going to go Savage Orcs, I just want them running in. I don't really want them shooting arrows. But so they have decently. They're the same as the Orc Arrer boys. They're still decent in close combat. They still have poor accuracy, but they have their Warpaint ability, which is 20% physical resistance, which is basically instead of armor, as you can see, 0 armor. They're slightly better leadership. Okay speed, 135 range, decent amount of damage for an archers. But you use these two units pretty much in the same way, and to be honest, I'd probably just go Orc Arrer boys, to be honest. They're slightly cheaper. I definitely have Savage Orcs in my army, but I'd use the normal Savage Orcs and Savage Orcs big uns. But they can still do a job. Basically, part of your main combat force, maybe have these. What you could do with these Arrer boys and the Savage Orcs is have them on the flanks of your army at the front, and as that enemy block of infantry and units gets closer to your army, pepper them with a few shots, and then the main central line of your force, which is your, Black Orcs, your normal Savage Orcs, or your big guns and stuff like that, they meet the enemy, start smashing, and then maybe use these Arrer boys, who are slightly less combat effective, as the flank chargers, just to try and break those units, because they're not the fightiest of guys compared to the other sort of like Black Orcs and stuff like that, but still very, very useful. And it's just nice to have a nice choice of missile infantry. The biggest tip I can give you is don't expect them to ever hit anything. That's pretty much how Orcs and Goblins work. That's the same with their artillery. It's the same with half of their magic, to be honest. There you go, guys. There's my guide to the missile infantry in the Greenskin army for Total War Warhammer. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe for more. I'm going to do all the units in the world of all the different army rosters, and then we're going to go into some tactics and playthroughs and all that good stuff. So join me for more, and also leave in the comments which is your favourite missile infantry unit, which is your go-to one. I'm sure not every people don't use all 4 in one army, so which units do you go for, and why? If we can build a community of people helping each other and telling them the best use. How do you use your Night Goblins with Fanatics, for example, and stuff like that? I'm not going to show you them in combat because they just shoot arrows, so there's no real need to shoot them. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.